Okay, good afternoon. It's BeInCrypto, by the way, not BeInCrypto. My name's Jess. I'm head of global growth at BeInCrypto, which basically means that I'm in charge of our localization. We are present in 20 different languages, and that obviously covers hundreds of different markets, hundreds of different countries within those languages. We roughly have around 11 million monthly users. And actually, before I got into the crypto space 5 years ago, my background was in sustainable development. So I was working in both humanitarian and conservation projects in Africa, Southeast Asia. And it was during that time that I realized that even with the best intentions, there are problems with what actually happens on the ground. So even if you've got support and people sending relief from different places, the reality of what really happens on the ground in the most efficient way is sometimes a different story. And so this is where I got kind of interested in how can we improve that? How can we make everything a little bit more clear and transparent? I'm really happy today that we've got such an interesting discussion. Blockchain philanthropy, leveraging the chain for good, something a bit different. And we've got we're down to 4 panelists now, but still we've got a really diverse panel. We've got people who are from more of a Web3 native project, philanthropic project, and we've also got people from more of a traditional Web2 non-profits that are also utilizing blockchain for different ways to improve operations in different ways. So yeah, let's start off by everybody giving their introductions, and at the same time when you give your introduction, I think it would be good to give a quick definition of what blockchain philanthropy means to you.
Great. Well, I already mentioned my name earlier. I work for Doctors Without Borders. I handle all matters linked to income diversification today and community building. I've been working for Doctors Without Borders for longer than I can think. And most importantly for us, blockchain philanthropy is really about leveraging the possibilities and the power of blockchain today in support of our social mission, in support of our patients, and in support of the communities that we help all around the world.
I'm Griff Green. My project is Giveth, as well as many other projects in the Web3 space, especially the Ethereum circles. When I think of nonprofits and crypto philanthropy, I really think of not only the classic helping the homeless and saving the environment, but also Web3 public goods like open source code and basically any kind of public good, right? Public goods being things that are non-rivalrous and non-excludable. Basically any projects that are providing value to society at large and can't have a business model, so they usually ask for donations. And my focus is actually, can we upgrade what nonprofits and open source communities are doing and give them economic models so that they could even one day outcompete the government to provide public services to society?
I'm Naroa Zurutuza from Giga. Giga is a partnership between UNICEF and ITU, the International Telecommunications Union, to connect every school in the world to the internet by 2030. And through that also connect communities and young people that live around these schools to information, opportunity and choice. One of the things that we do we are trying to do, is to transform the connectivity ecosystem and connectivity industry through technology, including blockchain. And in that I would agree with what Griff just said. I wouldn't define blockchain for philanthropy as we look into it more from the bench, like we call it as a venture. So usually look into blockchain, it should bring value to the user, it should fit into products that we are building to make sure that we are delivering value to governments, to our users, and through that build a mechanism or a platform to more efficiently deliver connectivity to schools and beyond that.
Hi everyone, I'm Laetitia, I'm the CEO of Lake. So basically what we are doing is giving access to our community water and its economy, working with many different water sources around the globe. So for me, blockchain and philanthropy, like, we can actually reach a new dynamic community, helping with direct crypto donation, for instance. And for me, blockchain is also really relevant to build trust. Because nowadays, many people have suspicions and they don't want to donate anymore because they're like wondering how their donations are used. And with blockchain, having everything on chain is actually bringing back the trust between the actually non-profit organizations and the donors.
Okay, during the first round of questions, I really want to dive into do you really need blockchain for this thing? Because not just in the philanthropic sector, but in many projects across the crypto space, often that's my first thought. Is this just a marketing gimmick? Do you really need blockchain to deliver this service that you have? Is this really improving your operations, or is this just something, a buzzword for you? So let's start with Mario. At Doctors Without Borders, I know you've got a lot of plans for different ways that you're going to incorporate blockchain technology, but you're currently using it for rallying new supporters and fundraising efforts. Can you explain a little bit more about how smart contracts and blockchain are streamlining your efforts?
Absolutely. I think it's important, first of all, to highlight an element that some of you might know, but we are a financially independent organization, meaning that over 98% of our 2.3 billion euro budget, which is our yearly budget, comes from private donations, comes from private entities, comes from private individuals. This independence gives us a unique standpoint in the sector in terms of choosing where we decide to work based on needs exclusively, no agendas. Preserving this financial independence is key for us. The second thing is values in the communities, people who recognize themselves in such an approach, people who, like us in the blockchain community, believe that there is a way outside of the current system, and the possibility for us through blockchain today to reach an incredible number of people we cannot reach in our usual means, the possibility to have passive income, meaning less expenses to generate that income coming in, and the possibility really to together address and support communities around the world where we decide to intervene, and have this approach that has always been the approach that my organization has chose to adopt, using links and leveraging civil society for us to be able to do that. This is what blockchain gives us today. It's also about innovation. It's also about doing things differently. Those are all things that spoke to us, and looking at how a very practical use today of that technology, generating funds, reaching out to an incredibly high number of people, is really something today that we couldn't do with the existing means. We are an organization, we are a Web2 organization. This is the beginning for us in the Web3 organization. But for us, I think really it goes beyond just a technical aspect. But having a smart contract today live that allows us to do that is something completely new for us. But it's something that is exactly in the continuity of how we built our organization and how we look at humanitarian relief, meaning us deploying where the needs are and not following any type of agenda. So preserving this financial independence is key, and we firmly believe that blockchain allows us to do so.
Speaking of donations, Griff, you mentioned that you think charities are kind of a solution to government failures, and this is kind of the mission of Giveth. How do you think that blockchain integrating into philanthropy is going to change the donation space?
Yeah, I think Doctors Without Borders is a perfect example of this. When governments fail to provide value to society that society demands, people start nonprofits. And Doctors Without Borders is a great example of, well, there's a government agenda to commit atrocities all over the world around wars and famine and embargoes, and Doctors Without Borders will just go and support them because of the needs and not following the agenda, right? But then you guys rely on donations. You actually rely on sacrifice of wealthy individuals and just the common person to care about that. And it's really sad to me because it's kind of a win-lose economy, right? It's like value is created, but yet it requires sacrifice. And that's not very efficient, right? I really love these markets. And when I learned about Bitcoin, this is like 2013, I really got into it. It just blew my mind with the possibilities and the value that Bitcoin itself as a public good creates. Anyone in the world can receive money from anyone else in the world. It's a true infrastructure, financial infrastructure that anyone can use. It's not paid for by taxes, and it's not paid for by donations. It's paid for by issuing a currency and then creating demand for that currency. This model is really mind-blowing because it's actually the same model that governments use to provide a value to society. Governments issue a currency and then they print that money to make value for their currencies. This is what governments do, and it's also what Bitcoin does, right? The demand for the currency is taxes, and the way that they fund their projects that are supposed to be creating social good for society is usually by printing money, honestly. A large part of it is from printing money, and some of it is also from the taxes that come in. And so Bitcoin actually is like a free market solution for providing one public service for society, which is financial infrastructure that anyone can use. Anyone in the world can create a Bitcoin address and receive it from anyone else in the world. So with Giveth, our goal is like, how can we take this model and actually allow nonprofits to enter Web3 and use this model to create economies around the value they produce? I know it seems really high level and far-fetched, but this is the way that we can make the societal demand for public goods and societal demand for projects like that UNICEF supports, or Doctors Without Borders support, and allow them to actually have free market dynamics. And that's what excites me the most. At the same time, we really focus on donations because that's where we're at, and this is how we can onboard nonprofits and public goods into the crypto space. And so we try to make games around that, economic games and donation games to support people's entrance into Web3 from the public goods sector.
Jasper from Glow Dollar isn't here today, but I know Griff works very closely with him. So Glow Dollar is a stable coin aiming at ending world poverty. We know that stable coins are very good for protecting against inflation, very popular in Latin America, for example. But Griff, can you explain a little bit more about how stable coins can be used for public good?
Yeah, this is a perfect example. So you don't think about it, but there's a reason that Goldman Sachs started bought a huge share of Circle, and Tether is just making money hand over fist, and they just launched a stable coin. Where's the money being created? Well, they buy bonds, they use that capital to actually generate other revenue. And Glow Dollar does the same thing, but instead of giving wealth to their investors, like USDC and Tether do, they actually give that wealth back to the society. Their goal is to end poverty. Right now they're funding mostly Web3 public goods because that's what crypto people care most about, and crypto people is their audience. So they use USD Glow to actually, the interest that they earn from USD Glow holdings is actually given back to society. And it's a perfect example of funding public goods using an economic system where there's no donations, there's no taxes. People need stable coins. They just want to transmit value to each other. Like in Giveth, we use it for our matching pools. we'll get $50,000, and we have to hold it in a pool for 2 weeks and then distribute it to communities. We could hold it in Tether and make the CEOs of Bitfinex rich, or we could hold it in USD Glow and make society more wealthy. So that's what we choose to do. We choose the stablecoin that supports the community. And then the projects get that stablecoin, and while they're holding it, it's supporting the community. When they need to sell it, they sell it. And so the stablecoins provide value, but this is the magic. There's no taxes. There's no donation, really. They're just creating an economic system that supports the betterment of mankind.
Thanks, Griff. I want to talk a little bit more about tangible, on-the-ground impacts. Laetitia, can you explain a little bit about how Lake does that?
Yeah, sure. To give you maybe a bit more of context, so Lake, we are RWA, Railroad Asset Project. So we leverages the blockchain technology to actually invite everyone to a new water economy. So as I said earlier, we give our community access to water and its economy, working with a lot of water sources around the globe. But as we know, like billion of people, they don't have any access, they won't have any access to our ecosystem. They don't have any access to water, to crypto donations, to even like electricity. So that's the reason why at Lake we decided to support and finance philanthropic initiatives. So within our ecosystem, we have a component called Donate Water. So actually we connect directly our community to non-profit organizations. So how does it work? It will be like we're gonna verify charities, and once they're verified and approved, we're gonna list them on our portal for our actually Lake3 token holders, so our community to give their token directly to those associations. And besides encouraging those crypto donations, direct crypto donations, Lake decided to actually finance themselves, like we decided to finance ourselves, like humanitarian mission and water charity projects. So by design, our ecosystem transferred 30% of our portal profits to a public fund that's going to finance actually water charity projects. So I don't know if you get it, but because it's by design, it means that never mind for which reason someone is buying our Lake3 token, they can come to our ecosystem, enjoy our services like buy water, sell water. They can enjoy the ecosystem. And even if they're not here to help people, because it's by design and it's taking from our profit, we are actually including our community in the fight of water scarcity. And more our users are using our ecosystem, more this 30% is going to grow. And actually, we have started with our first mission in Senegal back in June. We have funded 5 wells in 5 different regions in Kaolack, which is actually known for its critical situation around water scarcity. And we want to do more than that. So it means that we are building a foundation that's going to be fueled by those 30%. And then having tangible impact on the ground in Africa, of course, but in Asia, there is also even like, we don't think about it, but even in Canada, they have some issues with water, polluted water. So this is what we aim to do with Lake.
Naroa, you talked about the fact that Giga is using crypto as a kind of innovative financing option. You've got your staking and your connectivity credits. Can you explain a little bit about how you're solving the issues around equity and making sure that the most undeserved remote communities are getting the help that they need?
Sure. One of the things that Giga is doing through crypto and blockchain is to look into new financing models to connect schools, but also to sustain this connectivity over time and make a sustainable or find a sustainable business model for that. We are doing that both through mobilizing new resources and new funding, but also redistributing more efficiently or better giving access to existing resources. And I can give examples of how we are doing both of these things. In the first one, we are looking into staking. So we did a pilot in Rwanda where through a partnership with the Ethereum Foundation, where they donated the 32 ETH for a staking node, we staked a node, and then the returns are going into connecting schools. This is generating, I believe it's every 3 months, over $1,000. So that means that over $4,000 a year, and that allows, we are transferring that to a telco in Rwanda, and they are using this money to pay for the ongoing school connectivity fees. This way, we are finding a sustainable way of funding or self-maintaining connectivity for few schools in Rwanda. And you could imagine a world or a future where either each school has a node, or you could have clusters of schools with a node, and through that you find a way to find funding for connecting schools. We are also, similar to what you just described, now building a global network for that, looking into impact staking, where different people can donate either their yields, their returns, or at least part of it for connecting schools for or different social causes. So we are also doing that at the moment and expanding this, like one experiment in Rwanda, to a global network, and doing that to mobilize more funding. And then if we look more into how we are looking into or using blockchain to better manage and give access to existing resources. We are building a marketplace similar to carbon credits, a connectivity credits marketplace to incentivize providers to connect difficult to connect or remote schools, and looking into equity for that. What we believe is that resources are there. There is funding for connectivity, and many times they are not properly used. They are underutilized, not properly spent, and the same happens with infrastructure. You have either governments that own backbone that it's not being used, telcos that have fiber nodes that are not fully utilized, and we are building this marketplace where you promote infrastructure sharing. So for example, a government could give, we are already like piloting and building pilots for this, but a government would give cheaper access to their backbone or free access to their backbone if the telco provider connects schools in exchange. And the same happens with other funding sources like USFs that are mismanaged, and using this marketplace and this token to increase accountability and be able to track the flow of money through the entire value chain of connectivity.
Yeah. In general, from a kind of psychological human behavior perspective, I feel like one of the main reasons people don't donate more is because they don't exactly know where that money's going. So can anybody think of any examples where blockchain is helping to solve this issue, or how it could help to solve this issue in the future?
Yeah, I can go. I think, we started looking into blockchain philanthropy when we saw the amount of solidarity and the amount of donations that happened when the Ukraine war started. That was really a good starter point for us to see how much people wanted to give back and how much people wanted to support efforts. We also saw how much of that money never made it to Ukraine or to help Ukrainian people. And unfortunately, and to your point, Jessica, this is really the sad reality of people preying on good intentions. Now, the beauty of blockchain is literally just being able to trace your donation and knowing where it goes is one aspect, but also blockchain connecting you to actors that want to thrive on transparency and on accountability that you are not necessarily aware of. And I want to very humbly say we're one of many, even if I'm biased, of course. But there are people who are legitimately trying to do some good and are able to demonstrate that your donation or your support actually makes it to the ground, and demonstrate to you how that donation makes it to the ground. Now, when you try to give to an organization in general, you will look at how much of your donation actually goes to the implementation of the programs and the activities. Because all organizations, all big ones, have a percentage that goes to fundraising costs. And our organization prides itself on having one of the lowest rates on the planet, but however, it's still not 100% of what you're giving. Blockchain allows you actually to reduce that as we go. It's passive income, it's automated income, and that's very interesting because it means that at the end of the day, we are able to help more people. We are able to help even differently with that, but we are able to connect to people who want to give, who are able more than before to see what is the actual difference that they are making on the ground. So I really look at it from one, improving return on investment, automation, but also looking into really connecting people in a different way and in a way that just was not possible up until now.
Griff, how does Giveth address this concern over trust, where the money is actually going?
We do it in a few ways. I mean, I think it's harder with crypto today than it will be with crypto in the future, because in the end, you know, you donate to a nonprofit with crypto and they still have to convert it to whatever currency they're going to really use and distribute it to people who end up, you know, needing it. And usually those people are not technically savvy enough to hold crypto, let's just be honest. And I feel like we need way better tools, because once we have tooling that people can actually use, then it's just end-to-end complete transparency. The money came here to this organization, then it went to this person, and here's who they are, this is their wallet, and it's completely publicly traceable end-to-end. And that's the magic. Right now what we do is we actually do quadratic funding, which is a really cool innovation in the Web3 space, where we'll put up a matching pool. We'll find sponsors like Giveth. Giveth's been around for a long time, so we have an incredible foothold in the Ethereum ecosystem. Lots of people love Giveth. We helped launch a lot of standards in the Ethereum ecosystem. We promoted, we actually ran the first scaling conference in Ethereum to, like, you know, before L2s and rollups. We did open source block explorers now. We've done all these initiatives within the Ethereum space, so we have a lot of like followers there, and we almost because of that following, we actually can approach projects and get sponsorships for promoting what they're doing, trying to make this win-win, and get donations doing their marketing for them, basically, right? So they'll donate to our matching pool, and there'll be, let's say, $150,000 in a matching pool, and it will get distributed based off of the donations on chain that are made on our platform. So that we're actually it's almost like voting, where the more individuals that donate to different projects, the more percentage of the matching pool that those projects will get. And that is all verifiable on chain. So you can actually, it's like this matching pool is distributed based off of on-chain donations that anyone can see. But the main way that we really provide transparency for blockchain donations is actually not through on-chain activity, but it's by being an independent verification agent, which we are decentralizing now. But any project on Giveth to be verified on Giveth, we have a team that actually looks into them, make sure they have a history of success, and make sure that they are going to provide a real public service, something of value that anyone can enjoy, a real public good. And I think that individual work, that like off-chain, like human-centered work of just diving into the projects to ensure, kind of like Charity Navigator, that the projects you're donating to on Giveth are actually legitimately making the world a better place. It helps a lot, so that you as a donor don't have to do all the research. You know that we're doing it for you, and we have the credibility to back it up.
Can I maybe add something? Perfect. And it's about the importance of the end-to-end crypto flow. That's, I think, very important, but also challenging at the moment, at least for us as UNICEF. Of course, it's risk aversion from big organizations, governments, volatility of crypto, and therefore usually still, even if the donations are coming in crypto, we convert them into fiat, and then the money is used in fiat. Usually that's still the way. We are trying to find ways to change that. However, we did manage to have this crypto fund at UNICEF. It was set up, I don't know, maybe already like 4 years ago or so, or even 5. That's able to hold crypto. It's the only entity at UNICEF at the moment that it's able to hold and make crypto transfers directly to companies and startups. And I think it's an example also to prove that this is possible and start growing from there. But clearly, it reduces transaction costs, it's faster, it's more transparent because you see the flow of money end to end, and this fund directly invests in companies that are in emerging markets using crypto. But again, it's still a lot or long way to go to be able to use similar models in the rest of the organization or with governments.
And I would like to add, actually, because mass adoption is not really yet there. There's still, of course, some suspicions because you get the first step because it's on blockchain, so it's public. But at some point, if you want to, invest in some charities or be on the ground having an impact, you have to cash out at some point. So then you lose the track, right? But there are some solutions to help in the meantime that we're going to have mass adoption. It's, for example, the encapsulated NFT data meta. So it's actually a tamper-proof data. So it means that within this NFT, you can put like as many information as you want. So it means that you can have per mission, you could have an NFT that gives all the details, that gives the details of the expenses, the receipt. You can have proof of delivery, even testimonies or a proof of contact. So it just put it, everything that happened off-chain could be on-chain. In the meantime, like that, everything's going to be traceable from A to Z. So this is something, for example, we're going to use at Lake, because at some point, even if we have this 30%, we will have to cash out to actually pay the people that's going to dig the wells and everything. We cannot pay them with crypto. So it means that we will have to cash out, but we're going to issue those NFT, and within those NFT, we will give all the details, all the receipt, everything that happened off-chain is going to be on-chain to make sure we build the trust and people knows like how we spend this fund and how it helped and what was the impact on the ground. So I think we still have some tools, I would say, today. And in the future, when mass adoption will be here, then it's going to be sold out because, sold out because you will see everything. But now right now you cannot see it well.
And just to dive into both of that, this problem of the last mile, basically, right? It's like we need tools in crypto. Like I'm actually wearing this shirt right now, unicorn.eth. It's this has been such a problem for Giveth that we're actually building a wallet where it's super basic, super simple. You can't get phished, because Web3 is such a scary place. There's a reason people don't want to hold crypto. What the hell is a seed phrase? How do you save it? What do you do with it? When you onboard someone, you have to scare them for half an hour about all the scams they could run into. And it's just not even tenable. It's just like, listen, I'll convert the crypto for you and send you some money. Right? That's just the right solution for basically everyone. But we need wallet infrastructure to solve this problem, because if you could have a basic wallet that has restricted capabilities where you can't be phished, you don't need a 0x address. Instead, you have an ENS identity. Instead of having to worry about all these chains that's hidden from you, but still make it non-custodial, right? Then we could build wallets that are safer than PayPal. And the technology actually exists, and people are building it besides me. There's a lot of people building these tools. So I think in a year from now, like at the next conference, we'll be having this conversation, and you guys will all have your own wallets, and that last mile will be solved.
What were your guys' biggest hurdles when choosing to incorporate blockchain technology into your organizations? Was it like regulation? Was it just understanding the concept of it? What was the biggest challenge that you faced, and how did you overcome it?
I would say for our project, because we are global, so it means that we want to give access to water to everybody. So the bigger challenge for us is actually the mass adoption, because in many developing countries, they don't have any like blockchain crypto infrastructure. So it means that even if with blockchain, you reduce the value chain, like cutting intermediaries because you want to reach the final beneficiaries, or at least the closest you can. The issue is that even if you give them like direct crypto donation, they cannot use it, because in many developing countries they don't have anything. They're not crypto friendly yet, or they don't have they're not even on the way to accept crypto. So it means that they cannot pay with it. They cannot even cash out. The bank doesn't accept anything. I would give, for example, the example of Senegal, where we have done our first humanitarian mission. many of them, most of them, they don't even have bank account, but then they pay with their mobile pay. So it's mobile pay. And when you discuss with them, it could be so much easier to get these crypto donations, but then they cannot pay anywhere. They cannot even cash out. So it means that for us to have a tangible impact, to have a bigger impact, it would be actually to have this mass adoption happening, to make sure we can actually, have those direct donation and that people can actually use it in real life. So this was our bigger project, bigger challenge, sorry.
In our case, probably like 2 or even more probably, but one of the misconceptions between crypto and blockchain, they are not the same thing, and that blockchain doesn't necessarily mean or involve crypto, and you can still use blockchain for different purposes without having to deal or hold crypto. So I think that that's one, and making people understand that you can have an application using blockchain and you don't necessarily have to even be aware of it. It's just an app, as you say, that you are using. There is a technology behind it, and the user doesn't need to know what's behind that app or that solution. And the other one with regulation, many countries, governments, or people say that it's not allowed. But it's not that regulation doesn't allow, it's that there is no regulation. Or at least oftentimes the problem is that there is no regulation. And when you don't have this regulation, people are scared of doing something with it because they don't want to be the ones responsible of maybe doing something wrong or something that's not clearly regulated. So rather than not being allowed, I would say that there is no clear regulation around it, and therefore people are more scared or risk averse of trying new things with blockchain and crypto.
Maybe in our organization, and some of you might laugh, but the biggest challenge about blockchain was not to talk about blockchain, rather actually talk about blockchain philanthropy. I think the change management is a component that's part of every big organization such as ours. It takes time, it's heavy, but what was the most important bit for us was really to go beyond the technological aspect itself and say we will surround ourselves with the right partners, we'll surround ourselves with the right experts, and that's exactly what we've done. So let us not worry about that, but let us worry about what's behind it, who are the people behind it, why would people support us, why would they join us, why would people give to us and not give to other, how would we gain credibility within the community? To your earlier point, Jessica, how can this really appear as a strategy and a new change and a new way of doing things and not just a one-off or a gimmick? So it was initiating the conversation that was a big challenge first, and initiating it in those terms. The second aspect was then dragging everybody together. You talk about regulatory aspect, you talk about legislation, you talk about compliance. We're lucky enough to work on this project in Switzerland. The environment is very conducive for us to be able to consider a project like that, but as well to deal with an environment that is sufficiently regulated to provide us, before anybody else, with the guarantees that this world is not as scary as it unfortunately is, and that if we do it in a certain way, we're going to be we're going to be just fine. And the last challenge is just to keep in mind as well where we come from. We're a 53-year-old organization. We have a big supporter community that doesn't necessarily understand blockchain or doesn't necessarily understand why we would be doing that. And that's also important. And again, so I go back to my initial point. Let's not talk about blockchain. Let's talk about blockchain philanthropy, and then everything's going to be okay. And actually, this is how we've managed to get to the point we are at today.
To round everything off, what do we think is in store during the next 10 years for the role of blockchain in philanthropy? What should organizations prepare for?
Maybe I can go just very quickly and wrap this up on my side, but a bit to your point, we'll start doing more and more transactions in crypto, so we won't have to convert the funds. And then I dream of a humanitarian token, or an MSF token in our case, that will have an actual value and that will bring all the guarantees of transparency, traceability, and confidence?
No, go. Okay. I would say several things. First, I think education is really key for non-profit organization, but actually for everyone. The Web3 space is evolving so much. You have to keep it up. You have to know like the new protocols and everything to actually make sure the blockchain philanthropy has an impact and it's going to grow. So it means that right now, when you have non-profit organizations that don't know anything about it, it means that they cannot actually collect crypto donation. So it's preventing actually to get new donations, and even for the final beneficiaries, they cannot even use it if they don't know how to do it. So education for me will be key. Then also choose properly where you base your association or organization, because if you are in a non-crypto friendly country, good luck. So you really need to choose carefully these. And I would also add that for every new joiner in the crypto space, it's really important to provide user-friendly Web3 interface. It should be seamless the experience should be seamless for those users. They should actually use crypto not knowing that this is crypto. So then this is again the way for mass adoption, and this is how we're gonna get a bigger impact. So for me, those three things are really important.
I think it's already been said, but the last mile, making sure that we include the last mile that we are able to reach, even the harder to reach, and that they are able to benefit from the different solutions that will be built.
I'm going to go crazy off the wall here. In 10 years, I think you'll see a lot of entrepreneurs entering the space like Lake, who actually are running businesses that are providing value to society and competing to provide public goods. In 10 years from now, I think we'll crack the code of how to create digital scarcity around real world abundance. So you can create a digitally scarce token and an economy around that token that appreciates the value that normally considered philanthropic projects are adding to the world. And then entrepreneurs will enter that space because they have a way to make money while making the world a better place. And that's what most people want to do.
That is lovely. Thank you, Griff. Thank you very much. It's lunchtime.
Thank you so much, everyone, for listening to us.